Now, dimensional analysis, dimension was another name for unit. Analysis was taking it apart to solve it. Analyze, you tear it apart into pieces. So dimensional analysis says tear it apart into its units to solve the problem. Let the units tell you how to do the problem. So that conversion factor work is technically called dimensional analysis. Okay? And we did it with the metric system, but it works in any system. It doesn't have to be metric. The beauty of that system, the beauty of that technique is it works everywhere. It works lots of places. We didn't learn it because it worked for the metric system. We learned the metric because there's an easier way to do the metric system. Just follow the dot. That's easier. But we learned that math because you can use it anywhere, not just with the metric system. The only thing you have to have is, as long as you got two things equal to each other. That's the whole key to it. You've got to have the equivalent statement. With the metric system, I expect you to memorize them. Otherwise, I'll have to give them to you. So go ahead and make this into a conversion factor. I looked it up, and it said 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. I went and looked it up. So that means my equivalent statement is 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. And I should be able to make conversion factors out of that. Okay. So what are our conversion factors going to look like? Well, conversion factor has a fraction, something on the top, something on the bottom that have to be the same size. So I could write that 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters. Or I can write 2.54 centimeters over 1 inch. I can make either one of those as long as I know that these two are equal to each other. So if I want to go between, if they give me a number in inches, I can use this one to turn inches into centimeters. And if they give me centimeters, I can use the first one to turn centimeters into inches. Okay? Because if I put centimeters here, the centimeters will cancel out and I'll be left with inches. Okay? So if I got the equal statement, that means I can go between those two either direction. I turn inches into centimeters or centimeters into inches. I pick the one that gets rid of the unit I don't want. So, measured your book this morning. It said your book is, your book is 11.25 inches tall. Oh, I can't type. There's an H in inches. How many centimeters is that? And I'll give you a few facts to work with. So where do we start? I don't think my H was working. Okay, I start down by writing 11.25 inches. The abbreviation for inches is IN. And then I'm going to multiply it by a conversion factor. And the units will tell me how to do the problem. What unit do I want to get rid of? Inches. Where's it got to go? The only way it's going to cancel out is if it's on the bottom. So whatever starts here has got to be on the bottom there. Because that way it'll cancel out. You have one on top, one on the bottom. Okay. What can I turn inches into? Well, according to this, I can turn it into centimeters or I can turn it into feet. Which one do I want to turn it into? Centimeters, because it asked me for centimeters, so that's probably the one I should pick. Okay. So I'm going to put centimeters on top. And this is easier because in the metric system, you have to have them all memorized. Here, you just look at them. The number in front of centimeters is 2.54, so I write down 2.54 in front of centimeters. And in front of inch is 1, so I put a 1 in front of inch. My inches cancel out, and I'm left with centimeters, which is what they asked me for. So 11.25, I type in the number they gave me. The 2.54 is on top, so I'm going to multiply by 2.54 times 2.54 equals, and I get 28, mine says 575, okay, and centimeters. I'm not overly concerned about rounding, okay? So what I look at is about as many non-zeros as I started with is about what I want. So I got 4 non-zeros and I got 3 non-zeros. So I want about 3 non-zeros. Does that make sense? That is actually the basics of rounding is I want about as many of my answers I started with. So that would be 28.6 centimeters. I'm not going to not mark you down for rounding. Okay. You have to see if your number matches up with the rounded number if I put on a multiple choice. Okay. We didn't run into that with metric system because everything was hundreds, so we didn't have to round anything, right? Because it was all zeros and ones or leave everything else there. But here we're going to have to round stuff off. I'm not overly concerned about the rounding. I want to see the problem set up. So hugely different than what we did with the metric system. Yeah, the huge difference is I didn't have to memorize it. I could just look it up. Okay. So a football field is 100 yards long. How many centimeters is that? So the first thing I always do is write down what they gave me to change. They gave me 100 yards. So I write down the 100 yards. Then I'm going to use conversion factors to change the units. So what unit do I want to get rid of? The only one they've got written on there, which is yards. Where does it have to go so it'll cancel out? It's got to go on the bottom so it'll cancel out. What can I turn yards into? Can I turn yards into centimeters? No, I can't turn yards into centimeters. But I want centimeters. How am I going to get centimeters? Well, centimeters I'll be able to get from inches. Notice what I'm doing is I'm working it backwards. I'm thinking about the unit I want to end up with. How can I set it up so I end up with that unit? Well, I'm going to have to use this 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So I've got to get to inches. Can I get to inches? Well, yeah, I can get You can do 36, or you could do 1 foot is 12 inches, and then 3 feet is 1 yard. Okay? It depends on if you knew it. I would give you this. Okay? If you ask me about inches and feet on the test, or inches and yards, anything in the English system, I will tell you either there are 12 inches in a foot, or I will tell you there's enough information on your test for you to figure it out. That you can make the connection with what's on the test. Okay? Because there'll be stuff like this sitting on the test. Okay? So yards, yards I can turn into inches. People okay with that? And then inches I can turn into centimeters. So I'm going to turn yards into inches. Which is bigger, a yard or an inch? Yard. So the yard gets the 1, the inch gets the 36. You could have also gone from yards to feet and got 3 feet for 1 yard and done a conversion factor that did 1 foot is 12 inches. Okay? Yards canceled. Now what do I want to get rid of? Inches. Where's it got to go? It's up top now, so I need it on the bottom so it cancels out. What can I turn inches into? Centimeters. And I copy the numbers. It says 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So 100, because I got the right units now. 100 times 36 times 2.54, because everything's on top, equals 9,144 centimeters. Okay. And it makes sense because centimeters are small, so it would take a lot of them to add up to a football field. Small unit, big number. That still works. Every one of these conversions still has the small unit, big number relationship. That doesn't stop. Which is why it works. Once you have things that are equal to each other, I can change anything into anything. Okay? So, go for a race is a 10K. That means it's 10 kilometers long. How many miles is that? Okay, start off by writing down what they give me. It's probably a good idea to plan a route. How am I going to get from kilometers to miles? Well, there's nothing up here that has kilometers and miles in it, so I can't go from kilometers to miles based on what they gave me. But miles I could get from yards, right? And yards I could get from meters. So if I can get to meters, I can get to miles. Can I get to meters? Well, kilometers to meters, I'm supposed to know that one. That's why it's not on there, is because you're supposed to know it. Right? That's a metric one. Those are the ones I expect you to know, so I don't put them on the list. So I can turn kilometers into meters, then I'll be able to turn the meters into yards, and I'll be able to turn the yards into miles. Sound like a plan? So plan your route. 10.0 kilometers. First conversion factor, what do I want to get rid of? Kilometers. Whatever this unit is. Where's it got to go? On the bottom. What can I turn kilometers into? Can I turn kilometers into yards? Okay, kilometers I can turn into meters. We've done that on a couple of homework ones. And actually, it's the one that's missed most often. That's why I picked this one. Okay, people miss this one because they don't go this way. Which is bigger, a meter or a kilometer? The kilometer, kilo is the one with, so the big unit gets the small number, the 1. And how many meters are there in 1 kilometer? There are 1,000. 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. That's why you need to know what the prefixes mean. Okay. But that's not the unit I want. So what unit do I want to get rid of? What I got left, meters. Where's it going to have to go so I can get rid of it? It's going to have to go on the bottom. What can I turn meters into? I can turn meters into yards. Because it says so right there. And I can just copy the numbers. It's easier this time because I didn't have to remember a number. I just copied the one that's there. So that's 1.094 yards is 1 meter. And my meters have canceled out. Hey, this is as many conversion factors as we've ever done, but we're not done yet. I don't have the right unit yet. So what unit do I want to get rid of? Yards. Where's it got to go? Yeah, you keep stringing these conversion factors together until you get where you want to go to. Because you're really just multiplying by 1 every single time. What can I turn yards into? Miles. And miles, MI for miles. And it's 1 mile is 1,760 yards. So my units, I've got the correct units now, so I probably set the problem up right. Units are your friends. Okay. Then I just do 10 times 1,000 because it's on top, times 1.094 because it's on top, and the 1760 is on the bottom, so divided by 1760 equals. And if anybody runs cross country, they would have been able to tell you it was 6.22 miles per 10K ratio. All I have is the brown paper towels at the lab stations. There's some over there. See a stack right there on the demo table. So you can string these things together. What unit do you want to get rid of? Where's it got to go? What can you change it into? And we started off with our plan. We said, oh, I worked it backwards. Get a plan how those units are going to run into each other. Make that connection. One last one. As I was driving across Kansas this summer, off in the distance, I saw the top of a mountain. The top of that mountain was Pikes Peak. It's right there where the plains meet the Rockies. And it's 14,110 feet above sea level. The rest of the world would not report it in 14,110 feet above sea level. They would tell you what it is in meters. We're the only ones. So if you look at a map from any other country but us, it won't say it in feet. It'll say it in meters. So what would they say in meters was the height of Pikes Peak? Okay. So I need to start off by writing down what they gave me. 14,110 feet. Now I want to change that. So what unit do I want to get rid of? Feet. Where's it got to go? On the bottom. What can I turn feet into that would get me to meters? Well, the only thing I got connection to meters is yards. Can I turn feet into yards? Yeah. If you ask me on the test, feet and yards, I'd say 3 feet is 1 yard. So now I can cross that out. We've been defeated. Okay. Now what unit do you want to get rid of? Yards. Where's it got to go? On the bottom. What can I turn yards into? I can turn yards into meters. I can turn it into inches, but inches wouldn't get me there. Oh, no, it could. If I turn it to inches, then I could use centimeters. And then centimeters I could turn into meters. We could do it that way. We don't want to because it's a long and complicated way, but it would work. Because I know the inches and centimeters one. So what I'm looking for, this is the key. I'm looking for something that hooks metric to non-metric. Metric to the stuff we use every day. That's what you're looking for right here, because I want to go from the stuff I'm measuring, so there's got to be that connection. If I start with a unit in the metric system and end with one that's not in the metric system, I got to look where I can change. What do I know that lets me change? So I can change here because this is meters and yards, or I could have gone to inches and centimeters from earlier today. Does that make sense? But I'm going to do it the lazy way, yards to meters. And that would be 760 yards. No, that's not wrong. That 1760 is about for miles. It's 1.094 yards. It's 1 meter. That I on miles makes a difference. And the yards cancel out. And you push those buttons on your calculator. So that's 14,110 divided by 3 divided by 1.04 gets me 4,300 meters. My calculator did 4299.2. I could have written 4299. That would have been okay as well. Okay. But I said you could do it a different way. We also could have done it this way. Go from feet to yards. 3 feet, 1 yard is 3 feet. Then go from yards to inches. 36 inches is 1 yard. Yards cancel out. Then I could go from inches to centimeters. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. And then I can go from centimeters to meters. 1 meter is 100 centimeters. Now, we talked about that. That's what it looks like when you do it the long, complicated way. But when you push buttons, 14,110 divided by 3 times 36 times 2.54 divided by 100 equals 4,300, 4,301. Which is 4,300 centimeters or meters. So it didn't matter which way I got there because I'm really just multiplying by 1. I just used a different way of writing 1 on the second one than I did in the first one. More ways to write 1. Writing 1 creatively. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Well, the way to get good at this is to practice. So, just 10 questions to make sure we know how to practice this rather than beat it into us. Okay. I've set a bunch of the first ones up just so everybody gets a good start. Think about why I set them up that way when you go to set your own up. So I started off by putting in all the units, and all you got to do is put in the numbers. Then I put in some of the units, and you got to put in some of the numbers and some of the units. And then I gave you none of the units, and you got to do it all yourself. Okay, so look up here in the corner. Okay, here in the corner. Equivalent statements, I'll be able to I'll provide you with this. And this year, we're just going to keep adding things to this list of things that are equal, because once I know things are equal, I can do this math. I don't have to learn new math. I can use this math again. Okay. I found a mistake on this already. So let's look at number 4. Get number 4 on there. Okay. So on number 4, we got 3.0 miles. And my mistake is I either didn't give you enough information or I didn't write enough conversion factors. Because with what they gave you, you can't do it in 2 conversion factors. You need 3. Okay. Or I have to give you another equivalent statement. Either one. But let's do it together so nobody can complain about getting it wrong. Okay. So I got 3 miles and I want that in inches. So first conversion factor. What do we automatically know without looking any place but this screen what we have to write? What do I have to write next? Next thing I have to write is miles on the bottom. That's where it's got to go to cancel out. So what I wrote down to start with tells me what I put at the bottom of the first conversion factor. What can I turn miles into that will get me closer to inches? Yards. Okay, because if you look at that list, they have miles into kilometers and they have miles into yards. Okay. So, well, I guess you can do it in one. Ooh, that was nice. So 1 mile is 1,760 yards. I wasn't wrong. Ooh, I did fix it. And the miles cancel out. So next conversion factor, what do I want to get rid of? Yards. Where's it got to go? On the bottom. What can I turn yards into? Inches. You could go feet and then inches. That would take another conversion factor. Which is bigger, a yard or an inch? Yard. So the yard gets the 1, the inch gets the 36. It takes a lot of inches to make 1 yard. And you push those buttons, 3 times 1,760 times 36 equals 190,000 inches. In the metric system, the equivalent of this would be to go from kilometers to centimeters. That's where with the metric system, the beauty is you could just move decimal points. You wouldn't have to set up all the conversion factors. It never works in the English system. This is why their system is better than ours. Okay? I don't have to set up a whole bunch of conversion factors to do theirs. I can do it with just moving a decimal point. Okay. Ours is harder. Okay. So you got the homework. Now you only have 9 to do. Okay. I'm going to set up a bunch of. Let's go ahead and get started.